Come closer, my noble squire, and hear of a hunter who chose the wrong mercy. In a broken empire ruled by fear and greed, a single decision would shatter the life of a man who once lived only for gold. Donghua was precise, disciplined, and unmoved by anything but profit. Yet fate does not always bend to such simplicity. For on one fateful day, mercy replaced greed, and in that moment, everything changed. A government official would fall, a buried past would awaken, and the hunter who once chased criminals would find himself marked as one. Now, with enemies closing, when he becomes the hunted, let us begin.
4.
During the reign of Emperor Yangguang in the year 607, the empire stood on the brink of collapse. The people suffered beneath heavy burdens, and, as the old saying goes, when the river runs dry, even the fish turn on one another. In such desperate times, bandits thrived, refugees wandered, and violence became a language everyone understood. And where chaos reigns, bounty hunters follow. Among them, Donghua. On this day, he sat within a quiet inn, facing a wanted man with calm, measured eyes. His voice carried no threat, only certainty, as he offered a simple bargain. Pay triple the bounty, and he would pretend this meeting never happened. The criminal scoffed, glancing at the child beside Donghua before gesturing subtly to the armed men surrounding them. With confidence swelling in his tone, he questioned how a man accompanied by nothing but a child could possibly threaten him. Donghua exhaled softly, as though disappointed by the outcome. It seemed an agreement would not be reached. The leader of the Xiangzi gang, wary of drawing attention, ordered every exit sealed, and within moments, his men closed in from all sides. Their laughter echoed through the inn as they mocked the lone hunter and his son, confident in their advantage. Donghua did not react. Instead, he turned calmly to the boy. "Xiaoqi, pick a number." The child paused, thinking carefully before answering with quiet certainty. 9. Donghua nodded once. He told him that before he reached that number, every bad man in the room would be on the ground. Xiaoqi studied them curiously, unsure. He asked if they were truly bad people, though he admitted their appearance made them seem so. The innocent remark struck a nerve, and the gang leader's expression twisted with anger as he moved to strike the child. He never reached him. Donghua moved with sudden precision, his blade flashing as the room descended into chaos. What followed was swift and merciless, his movements fluid and controlled as each strike found its mark. Men fell one after another, unable to keep pace with his speed, until the leader himself was left wounded and helpless. Silence returned as quickly as it had been broken. The leader, trembling, abandoned his pride and begged for his life, offering all his wealth in exchange for mercy. Donghua looked at him for a brief moment, then retrieved his sword without urgency. He told him calmly to stop bullying others and to abandon the habit of settling everything with money. With that, he turned and walked away. Behind him, the broken man forced out one final question, asking how Donghua had managed to find him. Donghua did not turn back. He simply replied that he had been passing by. Later, Donghua rode across the endless desert, the wind dragging grains of sand across his path as he made his way toward Chang'an. Beside him, Xiao Qi shifted slightly before asking if they could wait until the next day before returning. Dao Ma shook his head, his tone calm but firm. He explained that he owed a man named Mo some money, and debts, in his eyes, were not things to be delayed. Xiao Qi, puzzled, reminded him that Mo was wealthy and would not mind waiting. But Dao Ma did not bend. Honor to him was not measured by convenience, but by consistency. That night, beneath a dim and flickering light, Xiao Qi grew curious. He asked his father about Mo's true identity, wondering what kind of man commanded such respect. Dao Ma paused for a moment before answering. "We share the same identity," he said quietly, his voice carrying a weight the boy could not yet understand. "But that is something you will learn when you are older." Before Xiao Qi could ask further, a fly darted toward the light, circling his face. Startled, the boy suggested putting the light out, but Dao Ma immediately refused. "If the light dies," he warned, "something worse will come." Cannibals. A savage breed of men who fed on their own kind, drawn to darkness and weakness like wolves to wounded prey at dawn, they prepared to move once more. As they rode forward, Xiao Qi noticed vultures circling high above, their shadows gliding across the sand. "Bodies," Dao Ma said simply. "And where there were bodies, there was always a story." They soon arrived at the aftermath of a brutal battle. Corpses littered the ground, and among them stood a man, frozen in death, a sword buried deep within the body of a cannibal. Even in stillness, the scene spoke of violence and skill. Dao Ma studied it carefully. Whoever this man had been, he had not died easily. Xiao Qi, ever curious, suggested they search the area for valuables. Dao Ma immediately refused, his voice carrying quiet authority. Taking from the dead, he explained, was not without consequence. For a blade taken without honor often returns with a debt unpaid. Yet as he turned to leave, his eyes caught something else. The fallen leader of the cannibals. He dismounted, stepping closer to examine the body. Beside him, Xiao Qi clasped his hands and offered a small prayer, sending the dead toward whatever peace awaited them. It was then that Xiao Qi noticed the sword. Its craftsmanship was far too refined to belong to any ordinary wanderer. Nearby, a richly dressed woman lay lifeless upon the ground, and the boy wondered if the weapon had once belonged to her. He reminded his father of his earlier words. Dao Ma gave a small, measured reply. "I am only borrowing it. After all, if they left it behind, it would fall into the hands of thieves and be sold without respect or meaning." Continuing their journey, they soon encountered an elderly man and a younger companion, both badly wounded by cannibals. The older man called out desperately, begging for help. Dao Ma listened and named his price. 300 coins. The man hesitated, explaining that he had only a small amount left. Dao Ma turned, ready to leave, but the man called out again, revealing his identity. He was a leader of the Western Division of the Wu Hui escort agency, and if Dao Ma escorted them to the nearest market, he would repay the rest in full. Dao Ma paused. Nearby, a wanted poster lay abandoned on the ground. He picked it up and examined it closely, his eyes settling on the reward. 6,000 taels. A far more tempting sum, he handed the poster back casually instructing the man to use his remaining coins to buy raisins when they reached the market. Elsewhere, far from the desert's silence, Mo stood within a bustling market, inspecting a line of female slaves. The dealer grew frustrated, angered by Mo's refusal to pay a higher price for one of the most beautiful among them. Mo, however, remained composed. He pointed out that the girl had been overdrugged. Her condition weakened to the point where even basic tasks would be difficult. Then, with quiet disapproval, he warned the dealer not to repeat such practices. "For in doing so,"
he said,
"you dishonor the name your father built." The slave dealer's anger flared suddenly, his pride wounded beyond reason as he lunged toward Mo in a reckless attempt to strike him down. Before he could reach him, Ayuya stepped forward with sharp precision, placing herself between her father and danger, her intent clear as she prepared to end the man's life without hesitation. But just as the moment tipped toward bloodshed, donghua intervened, catching her arm with steady control and halting the strike before it could land. With a dry tone that carried faint amusement, he remarked that Mo seemed to be having difficulty controlling his daughter these days, as though the situation were nothing more than a passing inconvenience. Mo turned at the sound of his voice, surprise softening into quiet relief as he recognized his old friend, though his gaze soon shifted toward the two strangers accompanying him. The atmosphere eased slightly, and not long after, a doctor was summoned to tend to the wounded young man brought in from the desert. Ayuya returned shortly after, her expression carrying restrained frustration as she questioned her father's decision to involve himself when she could have handled matters alone. Her attention then settled on donghua, and without hesitation, she accused him of always bringing trouble wherever he went, as though his presence alone invited chaos. Donghua did not argue. Instead, he stated calmly that this time he had come for business, and with that, he revealed the bounty he carried with him. The Wu Hui escort leader let out a heavy breath as he began to explain the truth behind it, his voice weighed down by both exhaustion and regret. The young man they had brought in had been searching for the one who killed his father, a man known only as Two-Headed Snake, a name that had lingered in the shadows for years without resolution. Donghua listened without interruption, his focus sharpening as the pieces began to align in his mind, and after a brief pause, he asked the question that mattered most. If he were to find this man, would the reward be his? The answer came without hesitation, yet it carried a warning. The man had vanished over 8 years ago, disappearing so completely that even those who sought him had long since given up hope. And now the young master would likely never have the chance to claim his revenge. Ayuya, however, dismissed the doubt with quiet confidence, insisting that there was no one in this world her father could not find, her faith in him unshaken despite the years that had passed. Several days later, Mo received a letter and read it in silence, his expression unreadable as the contents sank in. Without a word, he burned it, allowing the flames to consume whatever message it carried, as though erasing it would also erase its meaning. But he was not alone. From the shadows, donghua stepped forward, his presence revealed only after the letter had already turned to ash, making it clear that he had been watching long enough to understand that something was being hidden. When pressed, Mo finally spoke, revealing that 8 years ago, a high-ranking government official had been killed, and the man responsible had been forced to abandon his identity and disappear into the shadows to survive. The years had passed, faces had changed, and trails had gone cold, making the hunt far more dangerous than it first appeared. Daomar considered this carefully before asking how such a man could be recognized after so long, knowing that appearances could no longer be trusted. Mo answered with a single detail that had not changed. An upside-down figure-8 tattoo. He added that the last known sighting of this mark had been in a place called Chisha, though even that information was uncertain after so many years. Mo warned him not to go, explaining that Chisha was a place where danger thrived and reason held little power. A town that swallowed men without leaving behind even their names. There were paths that, once taken, could not be walked back. But Daomar remained unmoved, his decision already made long before the warning was given. Once he earned the 6,000 taels, his debt would be cleared, and that was reason enough for him to continue. Mo reminded him that they were friends, and that some debts did not need to be repaid. Daomar disagreed. To him, a debt left unpaid was a weight that never truly disappeared. Days later, Daomar arrived at the outskirts of Chisha, the air itself carrying a sense of unease as the town came into view. It was a place where criminals, fugitives, and lost souls gathered, drawn together by the absence of law, though that chaos had recently been challenged by the arrival of a government official named Chang Guiren. As Daomar approached the gates, the truth of the town revealed itself without words. Bodies hung in plain sight, swaying gently in the wind, a silent warning to all who entered. He studied them briefly, his expression unchanged, before continuing forward. He had found the place he was looking for, though even he understood. The man ruling this town would not welcome his arrival. Meanwhile, the leader of the Shangze gang boasted loudly within the inn, his voice filled with arrogance as he recounted how he had slain 17 men without ever answering to anyone. He claimed that even his injuries were earned through battle, and though their ranks had grown thin, he made it clear that they would not mind recruiting new blood. His words carried the hollow pride of a man who believed fear alone could sustain him. At that very moment, news of Daomar's arrival spread through the inn, and armed men quickly gathered, their instincts sharpening at the presence of someone formidable. Daomar paid them no attention. He walked forward with steady steps, his gaze fixed only on the leader of the Xiangzi gang. When he reached the table, he spoke without raising his voice, stating simply that he was searching for a man bearing the tattoo of a snake. The room shifted. The innkeeper and his wife observed him closely, their silence carrying more weight than the noise around them. Before anyone else could respond, the Xiangzi gang leader suddenly fell to his knees, panic overtaking his earlier arrogance as he begged Daomar not to take his life, reminding him that he had already surrendered everything he owned. Zhao Qi stepped forward, gently patting the man as if to reassure him that no harm would come. Daomar stopped him. He warned the boy calmly but firmly not to touch what was unclean. Without another word, Daomar turned and approached the innkeeper's wife, requesting a room for the night. Her son eagerly moved to assist him with his belongings, though he nearly stumbled under their weight, revealing just how much the hunter carried with him. Before heading upstairs, Daomar left them with a simple instruction. If they learned anything about the man he sought, they were to inform him. Later that night, within the quiet corners of the Fenglai Inn, worry settled heavily over its owners. The woman spoke first, asking her husband what they would do next, as their situation had grown increasingly dire. Water, the lifeblood of their business, had become scarce, and the reason was clear. Changguiren. Since taking control of the town, the official had seized authority over its water supply, restricting access and raising prices to suffocating levels. The more guests the inn received, the more they lost, trapped in a system designed to bleed them dry. With rent due in only a few days, they found themselves short by 2,000 coins, a sum that now felt impossible to gather. Feng Lei considered appealing directly to Changguiren, though, even as he spoke, doubt lingered in his voice. His wife reminded him of the truth. They had already begged and been ignored. Their son entered at that moment, questioning whether his father truly believed Changguiren would listen this time. His words carried both frustration and fear, the kind that comes from watching hope fail again and again. Dao Ma followed shortly after, his presence quiet yet commanding as he asked for directions to a spring bath. Feng Lei offered to guide him, explaining that the springs were located across town. Zhao Qi moved to follow, but Dao Ma instructed him to remain behind with the boy. When they arrived, the truth of the town revealed itself once more. The so-called springs were not scattered as they once had been, but confined to a single location, the government compound itself. Dao Ma found this strange. A town known for its hot springs, reduced to one. Feng Lei explained that Changguiren had sealed off all others upon his arrival, turning what was once abundant into something tightly controlled. Access came at a high cost, and even then it was bound by strict rules. Power, it seemed, had found yet another form. Dao Ma dismissed him calmly and continued alone toward the baths. As he approached, he noticed a group of men crowding one spring, their behavior tense and unsettled, while another pool nearby remained completely empty. He stepped toward it without hesitation. The men warned him immediately, telling him that the spring was forbidden. Dao Ma ignored them. A man struck from behind, hoping to catch him off guard, but Dao Ma reacted instantly, turning the attack against him and sending him crashing into the water. The disturbance broke whatever fragile order remained, and the others surged forward, anger overtaking restraint. Dao Ma stood his ground, his movements controlled as he gestured toward the wide pool, remarking that there was more than enough space for everyone. They did not see humor in his words. Just as violence threatened to erupt, a voice cut through the chaos. Changguiren stepped forward from a secluded spring, his presence alone enough to halt the advancing men. Without raising his voice, he ordered them to stop, and they obeyed immediately. Then, his gaze settled on Dao Ma. Calm, measuring, he asked a single question. Was he the one who had come to arrest people? Later, within the quiet corners of the inn, Feng Lei's son turned to Xiao Qi with restless curiosity, his thoughts clearly troubled by something deeper than simple admiration. He asked about Dao Ma, then hesitated briefly before begging Xiao Qi to convince his father to take him in as an apprentice, as though he had already decided that his current life was not enough. Xiao Qi looked at him with confusion and reminded him that he already had a father, and even a mother, one he described with innocent pride as being beautiful. The words struck something hidden within the boy, and his expression hardened as he admitted that he wanted a mother too, though his frustration quickly shifted into anger toward his father. He called him weak. Elsewhere, Feng Lei stood before the officers of Chisha, enduring their blows in silence as they struck him again and again, their patience already exhausted. They warned him that Changguiren had no intention of seeing him, and if he continued to linger, he would lose more than just his dignity. Back at the inn, his wife spoke gently to their son, urging him not to speak poorly of his father, explaining that there were burdens a child could not yet understand. She told him that when he grew older, he might come to see the weight behind his father's choices, though her words struggled to reach him. Ali refused to accept it, his voice filled with a conviction shaped by the harsh reality around him. In his eyes, strength alone determined survival, and every powerful figure in the town served Changiren, which meant his father's refusal to do the same could only be seen as weakness. He declared that he would become stronger, that he would one day support the family in a way his father never could, and then turned back to Shaoqi with a more calculated question. If he revealed the identity of the man with the tattoo, would Dao Ma take him as an apprentice? Since, in his mind, the man they were searching for had to be among the strongest in the town. At the same time, Dao Ma stood before Changiren, listening as the official spoke with calm authority about the state of the town and the order he had imposed upon it. He explained that before his arrival, the people had fought endlessly over water, turning survival into a constant battle. But now that he controlled the supply, stability had returned, even if it came at a cost. As he stepped closer, his tone shifted slightly, reminding Dao Ma that every man who entered Chisha lived under his rules, whether they accepted them willingly or not. He then offered him a position, one that promised power, wealth, and influence far beyond the bounty he currently pursued. Dao Ma considered the offer in silence, weighing it not by its reward, but by what it would demand from him in return. When he finally responded, his refusal was calm and without hesitation, as he explained that freedom was something he valued far more than anything being offered. He turned and walked away, leaving the offer behind as though it had never tempted him at all. Changiren's son questioned the decision, unable to understand why such a valuable man would be allowed to leave so easily. But Changiren gave no answer, his gaze lingering as his interest in Dao Ma quietly deepened. Not long after, Feng Lai approached Dao Ma, forcing himself forward despite the risk, his expression tense as he spoke. He asked how much Dao Ma would be willing to pay for the information he sought, making it clear that whatever he was about to reveal carried weight. Dao Ma answered that it would depend on the value of the information, and Feng Lai quickly explained that he needed at least 2,000 coins to protect his inn, the only thing standing between his family and ruin. After a brief pause, Feng Lai asked one final question, his voice slightly unsteady as he sought clarity before continuing. Did Dao Ma need the man alive, or would the bounty be fulfilled with his death alone? Dao Ma replied that he only needed the head. The answer settled heavily between them, leaving no room for misunderstanding. Slowly, Feng Lai revealed the truth, exposing the mark etched into his skin, an upside-down figure eight that had followed him through the years like a shadow that refused to fade. The weight of his past seemed to surface in that moment, no longer hidden behind silence or survival. He confessed that he was the man Dao Ma had been searching for, the one known as the double-headed snake. And as he spoke, fragments of memory returned, recalling the night he killed the government official who had come not only for justice, but for his child. Turning toward his son, his voice softened, though it carried a heaviness that could not be undone. He tried to explain that everything he had done had been for survival, for the sake of protecting the life that stood before him, even if it meant becoming something unforgivable in the eyes of others. He told the boy that if he ever chose to seek revenge in the future, he must do so with understanding, not blind hatred, and that he should never harm the innocent in the process. If he came for him, he must come for the man with the mark, and for the name that carried his sins. The double-headed snake. At that moment, Feng Lai, gasping for breath and still trembling from the attack, turned to Dao Ma with a mixture of fear and resolve. He asked that, if Dao Ma were to take his head, at least half of the reward be granted to his family. Dao Ma's eyes narrowed as he considered the request. Then he asked sharply whether Chang Guiden had sent him. Without waiting for an answer, he struck Feng Lai lightly to test his reaction, his movements precise and controlled. Do not pretend to be a master if you cannot even defend yourself, he said coldly, turning and walking away without another word. Dao Ma returned to the inn shortly thereafter, carrying the quiet authority of a man who understood when to act and when to wait. He handed a small treat to Alai for taking good care of his son, acknowledging the boy's loyalty and courage with a rare, fleeting smile. Then, without hesitation, he led Zhaoqi upstairs to ensure his safety while the shadows lengthened in the hallways. Not long after, Feng Lai arrived home, battered and bruised, yet still clinging to some thread of hope. I'll figure something else out, he told his family, though his voice lacked the firmness it had once held. His son, frustrated and impatient, shoved him roughly and demanded to know when a solution would come, pointing out that repeated promises had ended in failure. Before Feng Lei could respond, a sudden force flung him backward. Chang Guiden's son stepped into view, his presence commanding and dangerous. He demanded the rent, though Feng Lei reminded him that it was not yet due. I'll pay, he promised, but the young official's eyes were cold and his words sharper than steel. He made it clear that even if the rent was settled, his father would still claim the inn for himself, converting it into a personal station and leaving Feng Lai's family with nothing. He signaled his men to attack, ordering some to confront the family and others to ascend the stairs in search of Dao Ma. As the soldiers advanced with swords drawn, Feng Lai's anger ignited, and without hesitation, he struck down two of them instantly. Fear rippled through the remaining attackers, yet their commander pressed forward, urging them to continue, convinced that Feng Lei acted out of desperation rather than skill. To their astonishment, Feng Lai moved with lethal precision, dismembering each assailant in succession until only Chang Guiden's son remained. The young man stumbled backward, fear etched across his face, while Feng Lai's thoughts drifted momentarily to the harsh beginnings of his own life. The first payment he had ever received was for killing a man in exchange for a bowl of noodles, an act that had sparked the chain of choices that led him here. Only after crossing paths with the Wu-Wei escort agency and encountering that boy years ago had he resolved to find an honest path. Now, as he advanced toward the trembling son, the boy's warnings tumbled out in a stammering plea, claiming his father would exact revenge should he die. He called frantically for his men, but before any could respond, Dao Ma appeared dramatically at the foot of the stairs, kicking the last attacker downward with controlled force. Dao Ma surveyed the scene with the calm detachment of a man accustomed to violence, yet mindful of its consequences. He turned to Feng Lai, voice measured, and suggested that perhaps they should reconsider the earlier business proposition. Feng Lai, still breathing heavily, explained that Chisha was no longer safe for his family after the night's events. With genuine trust, he asked Dao Ma to divide the bounty between his son and wife after his death, ensuring they would have a means to live and settle peacefully. Dao Ma felt the weight of the gesture, surprised that a man in such desperate circumstances could place such trust in him. Feng Lai's voice softened as he admitted that he could tell Dao Ma was a good father, something he himself had never truly been. The moment hung heavy, but it was broken when a rope looped around Feng Lai's neck, yanking him roughly outside. Chang Gieren's voice boomed over the courtyard, commanding that Feng Lei be hanged on a pole. Dao Ma's eyes followed the motion, sharp and calculating, and he asked whether it had been Chang Gieren himself who sent the men to attack the inn. Dao Ma's eyes followed the motion, sharp and calculating, and he asked whether it had been Chang Gieren himself who sent the men to attack the inn. The official's reply was smooth, almost casual, as he offered Dao Ma another chance to join his forces. Dao Ma's response was measured, a calm acknowledgement with an edge of defiance. He would consider the offer. If only Chang Gieren hanged more criminals on ropes, increasing the bounty and thereby ensuring that Feng Lai's family received their fair share. Alai begs Dao Ma to save his father, but Dao Ma reminds him coldly that he came to kill, not rescue. The boy clings to Feng Lai's feet as the rope frays. Feng Lai falls to the ground, and Dao Ma tells him to pick up his sword and fight if he's still alive. He apologizes to Chang Guiren for the delay, joking that as much as he loves his freedom, he hates people with butt chins. Feng Lai steels himself, declaring he won't die, not while his family needs him. Together, he and Dao Ma strike, piercing Guiren at the same time. But Guiren's sword finds its mark in Feng Lai's body. Chang Guiren warns Dao Ma that killing a government official marks him as a traitor with a bounty on his head. Dao Ma ignores the warning and delivers the final slash, ending Guiren. Alai and his mother mourn Feng Lai, but he dies with peace, having seen the same resolve in his son that he once saw in the child of the officer he killed years ago. A man's debts, he realizes, are measured not in coins, but in the lives he touches. Dao Ma prepares to collect his bounty, but Alai pleads with him to spare his father's head. Dao Ma glances at him once, then mounts his horse. He explains that the traitor he sought had never set foot in this town. Before leaving, he hands Feng Lai's wife a pouch of money, a token for their stay at the inn, and rides off, disappearing from their lives. Di Ting meditates before a furnace, his mind focused. A lady approaches, whispering that higher-ups have issued an order to capture Dao Ma and his son. Success will restore their positions as cavalry guards. Di Ting is shocked. Dao Ma is still alive. But the informant wonders about his connection. Di Ting admits that his own misfortune stems from Dao Ma. Meanwhile, Dao Ma is being pursued by bounty hunters. They are convinced he matches the government's description and will earn them 50,000 coins. For a brief moment, Dao Ma considers surrendering for the prize, but quickly discards the thought. As the hunters close in, other bounty hunters attack, eager for the reward. Dao Ma slashes 2 men off their horses while riding at full speed. His own horse falters from exhaustion, so he urges his son, Shao Qi, to hold tight while he attempts to commandeer another horse. In 4 precise strikes, Dao Ma unseats 2 more attackers, yet he keeps his original horse, pushing it to its limits. Shao Qi warns of another group ahead while the hunters behind continue the chase. Dao Ma smirks at his growing notoriety and signals the horse to leap high. Arrows fly, hitting only the pursuers. Dao Ma's old friend. She informs him that her father wants to see him, and they ride back together. Dao Ma is struck by how much the town has changed. Ayuya explains that the activity is due to an important guest and teases him about failing to notice her long-standing admiration. Curious, Dao Ma asks about the guest. Ayuya introduces Ji Shilang, describing him as even stranger than Dao Ma himself. At Mo's residence, Mo expresses concern for Dao Ma, noting the toll of the constant pursuit. Dao Ma thanks Ayuya for being sent to protect him. Ji Shilang steps forward, revealing knowledge Dao Ma finds unsettling. His name is only a title, and Chang'an is not Shao Qi's true home. Alarmed, him there. That night, Dao Ma washes his face, trying to clear his thoughts. All favors. By morning, preparations are underway. Mo offers money and travel documents, but Dao Ma declines, planning to avoid the main roads. Ayuya appears, ready to accompany them. Mo explains that she must experience the world and places her in Dao Ma's care. Ayuya's escort protests at first, warning Dao Ma to protect her carefully, but she silences him with a sharp glance. Mo suggests that Dao Ma leave Shao Qi somewhere safe, yet Dao Ma refuses, insisting the safest place for his son is by his side. Shao Qi promises to stay out of danger, while Ayuya bids her father farewell. As they traverse the desert, Shao Qi grows excited at the thought of visiting Chang'an, convinced it is his home. Ayuya, however, casts wary glances at Ji Shilang, suspecting he is hiding something. Realizing the moment has come, Ji Shilang reveals his true purpose. He plans to overthrow the emperor. Elsewhere, within the royal court, ministers plead with the emperor to halt his relentless conscription of young men, warning of devastation to the population. Chaos erupts as a massive tiger bursts into the palace, slaughtering the ministers without hesitation. Moments later, the emperor appears, his cold gaze fixed on a surviving minister who dares to speak. Terrified, the minister delivers urgent news. The traitor Ji Shilang is approaching the empire. The emperor's form begins to twist, his presence turning more beast-like, each movement radiating menace. He promises the minister a promotion for obedience and issues a chilling command. Bring Ji Shilang's head on his next visit. And so, my loyal squire, this chronicle comes to an end. But tell me, will he rise or be consumed? If you wish to see what comes next, speak it below, and perhaps the next chronicle shall be revealed.